So I'm here with my 2024 Trailblazer. Had a lot of people ask how I did my subwoofer install, so I am going to run through that for you. Just to note now, it is the Bose system. It could be different if you do not have the Bose system. We'll start with positive power. So from the positive terminal there, as short as I could get it, I can kind of see that 4-gauge wire running right there to a breaker, and then that runs along around here, and there is right back there, that's very difficult to see, a grommet that goes through the firewall. It comes out right by the left of the brake pedal. You can see that coming out right there. Then I've got it run along underneath, and it comes back here to a little distribution block to feed both amplifiers, as I have 2 amps, even though only one of them currently works. I haven't finished hooking up the second one. For ground, there is a little panel right here that pops off. There is a bolt back there you can remove, clean up a little bit of the paint off of it so you have bare metal, and run your ground to there, and then just down through here and over to your amplifiers. Hope that's for the power. So if you have the Bose system, at the very back in the trunk area, behind this little panel, is going to be this amplifier. That's what I've tapped into. A company called tharness.com makes a T-harness that basically you unplug the factory connector from here, plug the factory connector into the harness, plug the other end of the harness into this. It's a pass-through, and it gives you your rear, left and right output in order to run to your amplifier. So I have that running along here into this amplifier. Luckily, this amplifier has a auto turn on, so no remote wire is necessary, as there is not an easy way to get a remote wire to turn your amplifier on. It also accepts high level input directly from the speakers, so no line out converter is necessary. If your amplifier doesn't accept that, you'll need to add a line out converter in between the two. There are 4 speakers, 4 microphones, one right there, one on the other side, one over there for the passenger side, and then another one up top here for the driver's side. And if you'll have active noise cancellation, or ANC, you'll have to disable that when you add a subwoofer, or it will go absolutely crazy and stupid things will happen. You need to disable it. In order to do that, there's several different ways. The way I chose to do, pull the headliner down, unplug the microphones. The front ones you can just kind of reach in there and unplug. The rear ones you'll have to remove a little bit of the trim, and it's a little more involved, but it is still doable. It's not that hard. The other alternative is there is an adapter also from I thought it was in here. Doesn't matter. It didn't work anyway. There was supposed to be an adapter that goes in line with this plug here, but it didn't function properly at all. I contacted T-Harness about that, and they were not helpful, is the short version of it. It was like a $15 thing, so at the end of the day I just gave up on it. I know it's a little bit of a mess because I've got other crap in here too, but in order to fit the sub in here, I had to remove the spare tire jack and wrench and tools. They are still in here, just in a different spot. When you do that, there are 2 bolts that stick out of the bottom of the floor. You had to remove those as well. I ended up, they don't thread out, they are riveted of some variation in. So I started to cut them out, and then they ended up pulling out and leaving a small hole. So instead, I to fill those holes so water and things didn't get in, I just filled them up with silicone. Based on the fact that half the car is put together with banal bond, it's not going to hurt anything. The silicone is keeping the water out, and so far so good. No issues with water. Now, I am missing the ability to put my floor down to the lower level. I can only put my floor back in to the higher level, but it does fit. So this lower level is SOL now. In order to also make this fit the spare tire, I had to modify the mount, or remove the mount. The bolt that goes through that's supposed to hold it from coming out is just a threaded rod and can just be completely removed. And I had to shift the whole thing over by just about that much. So there is a foam piece underneath of there. I just cut a little notch out of it so that I could slide the whole thing over a bit. The tire is actually touching the side right here now. Before there was a gap about that much. So pretty simple. The spare tire is still in there pretty solid. Unless I'm in a serious accident, it's not moving anywhere. It's fine. I think that's kind of all the important things to note for the install that I've done already. So for the second amplifier, as you can see, I have the power running to it just because it's to a distribution block, and while I was at it, I figured I might as well run it somewhere so that it's not flopping around and causing a short, causing an issue. But as you can see, there's no ground and there's no input-output on it. What needs to happen at some point is two options. Either I start cutting into the factory wiring so that I can take the output signal from this, run it to the amplifier, and then from the amplifier run speaker wire back to here to actually get the output to the speakers. Or the better alternative is there's a company, LLJ Customs, that makes a loopback harness that would do all of that for me with no cutting required. The problem is they've been back ordered on it for a very long time, and it is quite expensive for what it is. It's like a $300-ish Canadian touch, and I don't know if I'm willing to pay that for something I could potentially make myself for maybe about $100. However, not everybody is able to do that, in so which case, buy the harness. And for myself, I'm just debating whether I want to cut into those wires or not. Trying to find these connectors to make my own harness has been very difficult. So we'll see what happens, but in the meantime, the factory amp is running the factory speakers, and they're fine. But the sub is the most important thing. The factory subwoofer is actually still under here. It sucks. It's still hooked up. It still works. It's not hurting anything, but it's not good. That's more or less everything needed to put a sub in and potentially amplify your speakers. In case you're wondering why I would want to amplify my speakers with that amplifier instead of this amplifier, that amp is rated for, I believe, 75 watts per channel. This amplifier, well, Bose doesn't give you any sort of information anywhere. Best I can tell, it's going to be about 30 to 40 watts per channel. Now, that's probably at about 2 or 3 ohms. That rating is at 8 ohms. So, the factory Bose speakers are going to be at that lower rating. So when I actually start using that, there's a decent chance that the speakers actually won't sound that great. I'll probably have to replace the speakers with an 8 ohm speaker of some sort. But I'm not there yet. So just something to note. Anyways, I hope that helped somebody. Just because I did it this way does not mean it is the correct way. It's simply how I did it. But if you're wondering, it's been done this way and it works, and so far so good. It's been 6 months or more that I've had it set up this way. We'll see what happens when I actually get those speaker amp hooked up. Hope this helps somebody.